Good Friday morning, East Tennessee. My name is David Aldrich, Chief Meteorologist of Captain Accurate Weather, coming to you by way of the Captain Accurate Weather Command Center. You made it to the end of the week. It's been an interesting week. We had some rain. We're going to talk about that. Who got the most rain? We'll talk about that. And will we see some snow down the road? The answer is yes, we will. But we'll talk about that too. I want to find out how you're doing on a Friday. A little fog, a little clouds, not a whole lot of rain. In fact, the ultimate Doppler radar looks pretty dry. Scan looked dry. Maybe some spots of rain and drizzle may still linger this morning in spots. It may appear and hasn't even shown up yet. That's still on the table, I think, for this morning. I left now a 20% chance of that occurring. But the ultimate Doppler radar presented by Madlock Tire Service and Auto Repair, East Tennessee's #1 tire shop and auto repair since 1953. Love the fact that we have Madlock, so many around the area. Knoxville, we also have one there in Maryville. There's another one in Lenore City, perhaps one near you in Athens, or even Hardin Valley. If you are in need of an oil change, maybe a new set of tires, maybe you need an alignment, or maybe help with your brakes, they do so much more. Tire repair, tire rotation, and they've got a great website, madlocktireservice.com. You can schedule an appointment to minimize your waiting time, but they do a great job. Check out madlocktireservice.com. And I have a link at the Facebook post here at the top. By the way, the storm total, if you look at this closely, there's a strip of yellow between, say, Kingston, Harriman, and Rockwood, and extends just north of Oak Ridge. Officially, again, these are Doppler estimates. It shows Knoxville at 0.96. The airport, since this began, not just yesterday, Thursday, but really Wednesday into Thursday, we picked up 0.91. So it's off maybe 0.05 of an inch. So it's pretty close. It's not going to be exact, but it's pretty close. But if you zoom in a little bit tighter, you can see those areas, that yellow strip from Kingston, just north of Oak Ridge into Anderson County, 2.3, maybe 2.2 around Kingston. If you had similar amounts, let me know. But this is what the locally heavy rainfall is all about. And we have another round of it, an encore presentation, as it were, coming in on Saturday. We'll talk about those amounts here in just a moment. But if we just go around town to town, looks like Sunbright, Wartburg, about over an inch. Places in Fentress County, over an inch, 1.15 estimated. Oneida, Huntsville, about 0.09. 9/10. And then over an inch in Crossville, Cumberland County coming in, estimated between Crossville, Lake Tennessee at 1.15 inches, has occurred since this all began. Again, this is a 2-day total, and it may reset today because there's not much going to be going on at that time. But if you're on the call, let me know. I want to see how you're doing this morning. Are you okay with the fact that most, if not all, the snow is gone, except maybe the clump in the parking lot, right? All the snow that got shoveled to the side may have survived the big melt, because we're in the 60s right now, or 50s and 60s. We were at the 64-degree mark at 12:22 this morning. So we've already hit my high temperature today at the beginning of the quote-unquote day. But I think we have another chance of getting back into the mid-60s this afternoon, right now in the 50s. If you're on YouTube, Steve Stone says, have a great Friday morning. He's got the cool sunglasses. I love Steve. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. And we'll pop up back over to Facebook. Facebook's got some information. Jill Ritchie says, good morning. Good morning to you. Fred says, good morning, David. It's Team Springtime. It is your time. It's your time to shine, Fred. Glad to have you here. And Carrie says, good morning. It's Friday. Everyone have a fantabulous day. Thank you, Carrie, for pointing that out. As far as the storm total, the rain, because there were some thunderstorms, right? And there will be the possibility of severe storms today down to the south. And we'll highlight that when we get to the Storm Prediction Center segment of this live stream. It is now 6:46. Look at the rainfall. I don't see much. See some fog advisories that look like they've just now expired, or maybe newly issued there near Columbia, Tennessee, south of Nashville. But still some fog may be found across other parts of the state. We have 2 miles visibility right now in Oak Ridge, 0 in Athens. So if you're in McMinn County, visibility is likely to be pretty poor. And certainly in the Smokies, a lot of fog showing up there in the higher hills. So please be extra careful if you're driving to North Carolina. Future visibility may be more indicative of clouds. I suspect some hazy sun will be found today as well. So think of today as clouds, some fog, a little bit of hazy sun thrown in for good measure. And if we do get some sprinkles, maybe a passing shower or some drizzle, it's going to be mainly a function of the fog or in the morning hours. I suspect it's primarily morning hours for that potential. And we'll leave it at about a 20% chance from this point forward. But the future visibility, not all that bad. Here are the current readings. Are you kidding me where it's 58? You said we wouldn't get any lower than 54. Well, we got to 52. In Oak Ridge, they're a little cooler. But if you just kind of carve out for a moment Rockwood and Oak Ridge, right? These are the 2 cool spots. Think about it in elevation. But everybody else seems to be in the upper 50s, like Greenville or Newport, We've got some warm air. Sevierville checking in at 61 degrees this morning. 61 degrees, and it is, last I checked, the 26th of January. So you might think that spring's here permanently, but it's just visiting. It's just here for a little while, and then we'll go back to a colder pattern on Sunday. You mean like this Sunday? Yeah, this Sunday afternoon, it'll be snowing again in the Smokies. That's kind of a big change. How do you go from 60, a cold front? That's what's going to issue in or usher in that colder air. We've got a cold front coming in on the second half of the weekend. So that's something we'll be watching closely too. 648, you can see around the state, it's still 50 in Nashville. It's not bitterly cold in Paducah. They're at 50. Where the 60s are more common, I'm looking at Charlotte. I'm looking at Columbia, South Carolina. And I'm looking at Augusta, Georgia. They're at 64 degrees. That's all complements of the southerly wind, which is indicated by those little red arrows. So that's why they're warmer. They've got more of a southerly wind. And many of us probably don't have much wind at all today. Think if it's maybe 3 to 8 now out of the west, southwest today. A light wind when it does move during the course of today. But it will keep us above normal for sure. Wind speeds right now are 7 miles an hour at McGee-Tyson. No wind in Oneida, no wind in Middlesboro currently, and Crossville has no wind at least being reported. Gusts of wind are primarily in the Smokies, and they're not all that strong during the course of this morning. Now, as far as Knoxville rainfall, the monthly total, if you take into account the normals, is just under 5 inches, 4.76, taken from those years of 1991 to 2020. There's a clump of time of 30 years that they take that into account. It's basically an average. It is an average. But if you look at what we've had so far, we've closed in on 5.5. And we still have tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is the 27th. And then we have maybe even some more precipitation early next week. So we may be closing in on 6.5. We'll make a dent. We'll make a big dent in the quote-unquote drought that might still be officially in effect, because we're still, I think, level 1. Last I checked, still level 1 on the drought monitor. Might have to double-check that today to make sure, but that very little would have changed because the drought monitor that came out yesterday did not take into account the rain we've had the last couple of days. But 5.5, we've now had 0.91 inches of rain. Let's see here. 0.91 for Knoxville since this started. So we're talking about Wednesday into Thursday, just under an inch. But we saw that little yellow strip from Kingston, just north of Oak Ridge. They've had maybe 2.3 inches so far. You had another inch and a half or so, and it's going to be interesting to see if we are dealing with some localized flooding some more. Here's the future rainfall. This is what we're going to see for the rest of the day. Not much at all. We'll call it a big nothing burger, right? Some of the totals there you see on the screen might just be from leftover from last night by the way it's trying to account for it. But once we move into 7 a.m. Saturday, it's going to come up from the Southern Valley, from Chattanooga, from Nyota, from Philadelphia, from Sweetwater, and it's going to fill in. So by the time we get to 5 p.m. Saturday, because it's not just the day, it's also Saturday night. Boo! That's my date night, Saturday night. I understand you're going to want the umbrella. You're going to want the umbrella because it's still going to be raining hard at times and in spots at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. If you're heading to the movies, you'll come out of the theater and it's still raining outside. So there's still some heavy rains on Saturday night. So many of us may pick up another inch, possibly 2 inches of rain by the time we conclude Sunday. So if you look at Crossville, they could tackle on another inch, 1.7, based on this account, 1.5, and it would fall in the same areas, interestingly enough, like Kingston, Oak Ridge. They've had 2, maybe another 1.2, 1.1 by estimations of the modeling. So this is where, again, just keep an eye on some localized streams and creeks, because that may be where the level of flooding that we're dealing with. It's going to be highly localized and, again, pretty much away from urban areas. But still, future rainfall showing up on the screen for this weekend. That's your weekend rain. If you're on the call, just want to say hi to you on Facebook. Ed says, good morning, thinking baseball spring training. Isn't that something? Is it pitchers? They reported in February, something like that. Anyway, yeah, we're still a ways from that. I know that for sure. Danny says, good morning, go Vols. Jimbo Pat says, hey, David, glad to have you, Jimbo, have you here. And Esther Atkins says, good morning. Got 53 degrees in Washburn this morning. Have a great day. Thank you, Esther. Esther is very conscientious to give me a good update there in Washburn. So thank you for that 53-degree reading. Now, as far as the radar, not a whole lot to see here. You really have to go back or go up to the north to see where all the active weather is this morning. That pink is the freezing rain and sleet in parts of New York State, Vermont, as well as New Hampshire. So they're dealing with a headache, no doubt. But we're going to be watching what's kind of silently showing up south of Louisiana. It doesn't look like much. Doesn't look like much, but that's what's going to gather some momentum today, and it'll be knocking on your doorstep and mine first thing tomorrow morning. And the way things are speeding up could easily be in the Southern Valley by 5 a.m., 7 a.m., rolling into Knoxville and spreading across its area, across this area by the time we reach, say, Saturday morning. Lots of clouds in place right now. This is a 6-hour time lapse, and you can see some of the thicker clouds in blue. So we will find more clouds to start. A little bit hazy sunshine for the rest of the afternoon. But temperatures right now, 52 in Oak Ridge, 57 Jacksboro, as well as Caravel, 55 in Oneida, and it's 54 in Crossville. It's 6:53. I'm going to be finishing up here in about 7 minutes or less. I think I can do it. How about the sunrise? When does that occur? That's at 7:41, less than an hour away from now. Don't know if you'll need the sunglasses, but you may need them, may want them for the sunset tonight. That occurs 3 minutes now before 6 p.m. So our days are, in fact, getting longer. That sunset was 5:55 yesterday, so we've added 2 extra minutes today. Bus stop forecast today, looking for 58s, pretty common, pretty steady in the mid to upper 50s through 10 a.m. But for pickup, 63. Might get a little bit brighter by 2 o'clock. If you're picking up between 2 and 3:30, the kiddos at elementary, middle, or high schools, we're still looking at 63. By about 2, finishing the day about 64, even though that's how we technically started this morning. McGee Tyson did hit 64 at 12:22 this morning. Here are the clouds in the bigger picture. These clouds are still focused on or aimed at us from the southwest. So there's going to be maybe some thin spots near Nashville that could slide in here the second half of the day. So we have some drizzle potential. We have some fog potential and some spots of rain this morning. Not a big deal. But rainy on Saturday, some locally heavy rain, could be some downpours, and that includes Saturday night. It's not just a Saturday day thing. It's a 2-part a saga of rain that we'll still deal with. And many of us may pick up anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of additional rain on top of what we've already had so far this week. Showers on Sunday are raindrops for Knoxville. But if you're in around the Smokies, you work through the Smokies. You head to North Carolina. Driving through the Smokies, it's going to be colder enough for them to see some snowflakes, which we'll look at here in a moment. It's going to favor that horseshoe effect, the famous horseshoe effect of due to elevation and temperature. Right now it's 58. We have a southerly wind at 7 miles an hour and a relative humidity pretty saturated, 97%. It's 6:55. Here's where I expect we'll be for the rest of the day, kind of maybe jumping up a few degrees. Clearly, if we're in the 50s now, we'll finish in the low to mid 60s for most, but the average high, the typical high for this time of year is in the upper 40s, about 49. So with clouds, some fog, hazy sun, we'll leave a 20% chance for some spots of rain or drizzle this morning. So if that's what you expect, then you're right on target, because that's what I expect too. I want to say good morning to you. Judy Kerr says good morning. It's 57 degrees. I was looking at the period, or maybe the decimal point of this 0.57 inches. That was a 57 degrees in Rutledge this morning. Thank you, Judy. And if you're on YouTube, let me know. I see Felicia's Crafty Adventures. She says, glad for a dry, warm day. Have a great day and come out to Chocolate Fest on Saturday. That's right. That's tomorrow. And she said it's indoors at the Jacobs Building from 9 to 5. And you could say hi to Felicia. She's got some great things I've been out to when she's selling these great little crafty adventures. If you are an arts and crafts fan, you owe it to yourself to check out Felicia's table, but also pick up some chocolate. Why not? Chocolate Fest in Knoxville. Going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. So don't be persuaded. Don't be put down by the rain forecast, because Chocolate Fest is indoors. All right, so we're talking about precipitation chances, right? 20% goes to 100%. That's pretty confident. Sadly, with rain that we get tomorrow and tomorrow night, it will cap off what will have been a soggy week. 40% chance of precipitation on Sunday, and then a little bit more on Tuesday. Tuesday night, I have it back to 60, because there's another system, a little clipper from the northwest. It's going to come in on Tuesday night, drop some flakes for places like Claiborne County, Hancock County, to get your attention. So it may very well favor the horseshoe. So we're looking at maybe Campbell, Claiborne, Hancock County, and into Harlan County, Kentucky, all the way into the Smokies. This is going to be mainly a horseshoe type of snow over the next couple of days, but I do have a 60% chance of precipitation Tuesday night, and it should be gone by Wednesday morning. So that's our next system early next week. Temperature right now at 6:57. It's 32 degrees in Denver, while it's 60 in Atlanta. Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, 68 degrees. You got to be kidding me. And it's 66 in Orlando. It's actually warmer in Raleigh, North Carolina, than it is in Orlando right now. That's amazing, because they're at 66, but 73 in Miami. Now, this cold air that I'm talking about coming in is well depicted or illustrated here. Notice the red arrows. This is 5 o'clock Saturday. We're still on the warm side of the table. If you're an accountant, we're on the warm side of the ledger. And then there's that low over Memphis, right? You can see the cold air in blue. And that low that's around Memphis, upper level low, is going to slide in, bring a front that drops the temperature abruptly. That's why I have a 52-degree high on Sunday, and it's probably going to be between midnight and 3 a.m. Midnight, 3 a.m., 52. Spend most of Sunday in the upper 40s. Mid to upper 40s is my expectation for Sunday in the valley. But once this cold air comes in, it sets another stage for a little winter weather. We'll be back in the 20s Tuesday morning. We'll be back in the 20s Thursday morning. And there'll be some opportunities for this spin that could produce more snowflakes, primarily in the horseshoe configuration. Once we move into the 4th of February, there'll be more opportunities for snow. And all it takes is a little southern slider between Chattanooga and Atlanta, and suddenly we could have some more snow. You said, oh, say it isn't snow. Say it is snow if you're on Team Snow. But by the 8th and 9th, I think the pattern will essentially take hold, and we will see more winter weather coming back into town into Knoxville. So this gives you an idea. It's just model data. I like to show it, not to get for sensationalism, because I do know this type of information gets posted on the web all the time. But it's just not well explained. This is just one opinion of one model. It's like saying I'm going to pick one breakfast cereal at the grocery store and say that's indicative of its nutritional value of all the cereals, right? You can't do that. I can show you. Others aren't going to agree. Every model is going to have a different feel or a different taste. It might not see it exactly the same way, but you can clearly see how the horseshoe takes hold there, right? Right through the 4th, 5th, and then the heavier snows in West Virginia might be over a foot. That's what's suggested here, heading in through for the first 8 days of February. So we'll be keeping an eye on this. There's going to be a lot of changes, and that's why I encourage you to join us on Captain Accurate Premium, because if snow, and how much snow am I going to get, comes to your mind, well, that's what we're answering and doing every day. We get more detail. We get into the weeds of snow potential on Captain Accurate Premium. Just go to CaptainAccurate.com or simply hit the subscribe button on my Facebook page at the top of this Facebook page. It might be very well worth your time and investment. It's just $4.99 a whole month. That'll pay for the whole month, just $4.99, and that's the way it's been since over a year now. So snow potential will grow as we head into next month. Now, the Storm Prediction Center now at 7 o'clock. Showing some hot spots. Not today. Clearly, there's a pullback today, which was anticipated. But some thunderstorms may exist between Dallas and Atlanta, where there is some light green. But tomorrow, oh yes, it's growing. That yellow area now extends into central Alabama and the panhandle of Florida. It would include Destin. It includes Mobile, Alabama, for scattered severe storms on Saturday. So the storms will be riding up from this area and riding into town like so. So we're going to see some rain and thunder tomorrow, but not severe weather. None of that's expected. Some thunderstorms, yes. Severe thunderstorms, no. And Sunday, most of the thunderstorms have now moved toward the Carolinas and the Outer Banks as it slides to the east on Sunday. Colder air wraps around. So here's the futurecast. Look at this. Notice the cold front, where it is today. It's not on our doorstep. It's over towards Charlotte. So that's why we get the big break today. If we push the time clock forward into time, there's the afternoon. A couple of showers maybe around trying to approach Bryson City, perhaps. But certainly the heavier rains like this really fill in tomorrow morning. And that's why I suspect you're going to want the umbrella if your outdoor plans take you, well, if your plans take you outdoors for any length of time tomorrow. Heavier rains continue on Saturday night, because the cold front's coming to town. So there's the 7:15 date night, right? You're heading to the movies, and the rain's coming out again with more vigor, more energy coming in from these storms, thanks to the cold front that has to sweep in, and then the trough behind it, and then the colder air wraps around that particular low heading into Sunday. So that's when we'll start to see some snowflakes in the afternoon on Sunday, like so. So it may be highly localized. It's all elevation and temperature based. We do not expect flakes to be an issue in Knoxville. It is just not one of those types of events. Futurecast shows again the temperatures today, going from the mid-50s to the low 60s by noontime. Maybe some sunny breaks. Look at that. That's 3:30. If we get this much sunshine, you'll be like, this is heaven, right? After the snow and ice that we've dealt through or worked through the last couple of days and weeks, mid-60s with some sunshine, hazy sun would be a real bonus. It would certainly lift one's mood, but don't think that the rain is gone, because it comes back first thing tomorrow morning. And hopefully, I can illustrate that with this image. As you can see, temperatures are warm enough for rain. It's not a snow event anywhere tomorrow. It's just all drops, but it really slides in. There's noontime tomorrow. This is why I think Felicia says come to the Chocolate Fest, because if it's raining in 54, you may need some comfort food. Maybe some chocolate would do you some good. Maybe. 3:30, we're in the 50s. I think temperature tomorrow about 58 degrees. And eventually the cold front will come in, produce some thunderstorms like this. So Oak Ridge, Oneida, that's 11 o'clock at night. There will be another surge of storminess going into tomorrow night. So here we go, wrapping up 7:02, 64. Clouds, fog, hazy sun, some spots of rain or drizzle or fog, winds about 3 to 8 miles per hour. If you're in Morristown, I'm expecting a high of 63 for you, 58 for Jamestown, 60 for Oneida and Lake Tansy, Crossville in Cumberland County. Now, if you're traveling today, they will eclipse 70, yes, and 70 in Greenville, in Charlotte, 72. And Columbia, South Carolina, how about temperature envy? They've got 75 for a high temperature today. Clouds increase tonight. Rain develops late, more likely between 5 and 7 as it comes up from the Southern Valley, as in the morning. So it is very late, but it is before the sun comes up. 48 in Oak Ridge, 47 in La Follette, 48 in Morristown. Those are your low temperatures tonight. Looking for a low in Maryville, Alcoa, of 51 degrees. Here's your Captain Accurate Weather Authority forecast for Knoxville, East Tennessee. Got a 100% chance. So what you're saying is there's a chance. There's a 100% chance you get wet tomorrow if you're outside. 52 and falling on Sunday. And then I've got these little snowflakes, nuisance flakes, because it's not a Knoxville experience, but it is one if you're in the Smokies. Mountain flakes, drizzle. But the 60% chance of precipitation, I think, is Tuesday night and into Wednesday before the sun really comes up. So that's my 7-day forecast. If it is what you're thinking, I hope that it falls in line with your expectation, because this is going to be moving us back to the winter pattern. Won't be abrupt like it was in December of 2022, because I believe we dropped over 40, 45 degrees in 8 hours. That can happen too sometimes, but that's not the type of tumble that we're going to experience. It's going to be gradual. Be gradual enough to get your attention as we get out of the 60s back to the 40s for highs next week. If you're on the call, just want to say good afternoon or good morning to you. By the time you get to the afternoon, you'll probably be smiling if you're on Team Spring. I got Steve here. I got Felicia on YouTube and on Facebook. Let me see final notes here. Fred says you'll have a safe and blessed weekend. Thank you, Fred. Cody LaRouche, good morning, David. Thanks for always keeping us informed. My pleasure. Bob says, good morning, David. And January, Wanda Poe says, has been so cold out of February and March. Look out, February and March. It's funny because last I checked, before this little 60s and 50s the last couple of days, we were still 6.5 degrees below normal. For the first 23 days, I think it was for the first 23 days of January, we were like 6.5 degrees below average. That's pretty cold. I mean, if you're 1 or 2 degrees below average, that's a big deal when you average out for the whole month. But we'll make up for that. We'll chip away at that when we're in the 60s today and 50s, obviously. Oh, and by the way, I did make this made me laugh. May not make you laugh, but it made me laugh. Now, yesterday's high during the day was 59, and I had 65 for the forecast. But wouldn't you know it, at 11:55 last night, we popped to 65. And at 12:22, we were at 64. So I actually hit the high temperature, but I did it at the midnight hour. So what do you know? It's just, yeah, it's not easy being accurate. That was my moniker here. I'll use that heading to break here. But my name is David Aldridge. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend and stay safe through the rain on Saturday. Take care.